There's some journalists who, like me, didn't get to write very long early in their career. They're used to sort of the fast-paced news environment, and they really want to commit to something that's a longer feature, that's more literary, more seen, more beautiful ideas explored. And this is their chance to sort of spend time on that and make sure it happens. I'm Sarah Berman. I'm a reporter and editor based in Vancouver. I also produce and write podcasts, and I'm here as faculty in the literary journalism program. It's been quite a journey. I mean, there's so many interesting stories. There's just a really great crew of people who are working on books, who are working on magazine pieces, who are thinking about memoir, thinking about family history, thinking about just the biggest questions you could ever imagine. And we get to sort of be in the muck with them and roll up our sleeves and try to figure out and problem solve how to make it the best it can be. I come from an online journalism background, which is very fast-paced and usually pretty short. I don't think I ever, in the first 10 years of my career, got to write more than maybe 2,000 words. 2,000 words was considered, a very deep feature until around 2018, 2019, when I started writing a book about Nexium, which is this self-help program that turned out to be, a terrible cult and scheme. The leader ended up going to prison for 120 years. Very bizarre case, and certainly worth more than 2,000 words. And I got to explore those questions here and really tear out my hair and, try to figure out exactly what I was going to say about this. That was just so helpful to have time and space and folks who are willing to read very long drafts. I was invited back to join the literary journalism program. Before, I was just part of literary arts. And so this was a cohort of all journalists, and we were all working on long-form projects. I had started working on another cult story. It was about this group called Twin Flames Universe. And I had really fallen off working on it. I had set it aside for a number of reasons, but it was applying to the Banff Centre that sort of got me out of that, got me back in the document, and got me producing a longer form piece. That piece eventually ran in Vice in 2023 in November, alongside the release of a documentary on Netflix called Escaping Twin Flames. And that was probably the biggest response to a story that I've ever had. People were emailing me every day saying that they'd watched it, that they'd learned so much from it. It was truly a global phenomenon. I think it was one of the most watched documentaries of 2023 on Netflix. And I don't think I could have gotten to that place if I hadn't faced my fears and got back into the document here at the Banff Centre. When I've come to the Banff Centre, I've been able to unload this huge weight off my shoulders and, share it with a faculty and with peers. And that's just an incredibly valuable thing to be able to do. Writing a book or a long-form feature is just a very solitary process. You're on your own, you're down a really deep rabbit hole, and no one's down there with you. And so coming to the Banff Centre, you have a willing faculty to come down that rabbit hole with you and tell you you're doing great, tell you what works for them, what they think is impactful in a story sense. And that's just so important to have, even just for the encouragement of it. In those early days, I would sort of follow the same template with a lead, a nut graph, a chronological account, and then, maybe you have a cute kicker at the end of the story. I've added so many more new tools to my toolbox since then. Just looking at how filmmakers plot out rise in tension, a catharsis, a climax in a story. I just realized that there are so many other ways to tell a story. You can have acts, you can have threads, it can be a braided structure. I knew these things before, but now I actually feel like I can apply them.